I'm Jermaine Pataki-Terrio, Director of Gallery 78 in Fredericton, and we have a beautiful exhibition on currently. It's called Reflections of Sophie by Stephen Scott, and we're very pleased to have Stephen here today to answer a few questions. Stephen, you're well known for your paintings of Arctic landscapes. We have loved and admired your figurative work here at Gallery 78 for over 30 years. Looking at these paintings, you're clearly a gifted figurative artist. Figurative painting is very popular again in the national contemporary art scene. What was the impetus for you to first paint this subject matter and to continue to paint it when the rest of the country had veered away?
Hi. Well, I've been with this gallery for a long time, and but to go back to the beginning, I think I would have to admit that when I looked at painting and was inspired by some of the heroes that brought me to consider taking up art as a career, there was never any differentiation between figurative art, still life, or any other genre and figurative work. They all seem to be within the same sphere of reference. So it was always, for me, a personal exploration of my experiences in my life. And, well, my heroes, Forrestal, Wyeth, any of the realist painters, never were limited by one particular idiom. So that was my origin, I think. Anyway, and also living in Brunswick, the landscape had a great impact because of, my family history and all of that. But in keeping with the question, figurative work, well, I guess I still feel like I'm not really quite in the groove now. I mean, figurative work, after I finished Mount Allison, was not considered to be a serious subject matter. It was mostly, we're still in the throes of modernism, postmodernism, formal art. Formal issues seem to dominate the art world anywhere in the academia and in Canada, and not so much here. Figurative work always had a mainstay here with people like Colville and Pratt and those heroes. But so I was out of the picture then. You're right. But now I feel like I'm sort of on the outskirts of it now too, because the type of work I do is more expressive. It's figurative work. It's realism, but it's not really very realistic. There's an expressiveness to it, which I bring from just the way I handle paint and the way I think. And I find today that the major influences in figurative art are just definitely dominantly neoclassical now, and I don't paint that way.
Now, you paint what you see, there's no question. And your model in this particular exhibition is, as it happens, to turn out your wife. She was your model many years ago, was she not, Sophie?
I met Sophie, yes. We've known each other since about 2002. And she led her own life for a number of years, and I led mine. But eventually we came to become closer and closer over time, and we married in 2010. After a year of being closer. So she's been a main subject of mine for a long time. But in the last period of time that this shows a reflection of, she's the only subject, and I just find that she's a source of inspiration for me, and she encapsulates a whole variety of different kinds of personas and spiritual characters and figures that I notice from time to time.
Do you decide on the composition quite seriously before you started? Like the one that's beside you, the one of Sophie on the swing, right. There's a lot of tension in that painting. Yeah. It's sort of interesting how that came about. Was that on purpose? Is that what you were looking for, or did it just come out?
Well, most of the time I find ideas just come.
Yes.
They're not premeditated. It's just a moment of recognition. There's very little planning. I mean, in that way, I find that my work is a lot different from realists like Colville's, because Colville, I don't know, the source of the inspiration, maybe for him it's the same. Maybe it's just a flash of recognition of an idea and then working it out. in his case, he achieves a more emotional balance in his work through formal means. He constructs his work. In my situation, I grasp it as quickly as I can through sketches and, you know, an observation. But the origins are generally not very premeditated, they just happen. The one at the swing, though, is probably a case in point. Maybe I just had an imagining of her, or she was swinging on a, you know, at the park, and, you know, it just, but, you know, encapsulating her personality in that, I mean, that's not her, but that's a kind of you know, an archetype for her. The one behind me that I think would be probably the most constructive of the whole series. It's a retake of a painting that I did for the show at St. John called Northern Gothic. And, you know, the male figure, the female figure, this kind of steady gaze at the viewer, the supplication, or in this case, the donation, the gift, the offering. The last one I did was, and I didn't really notice it until after it was finished. People said, well, that's just like Grant Wood's American Gothic, right? And I go, oh, yeah. You're right. I'd never realized that. That's how introverted I am in terms of my ideas. I very seldom look at it. I try to not see as much as I possibly can. In this case, that work wasn't available, and I wanted to do another version, and especially having gone through the last winter, I thought I would do a winter version, so I changed my palette. So in this particular case, it was already a preconceived notion, and I decided that I wanted to do more exploration in terms of the color palette that I was using for it. So I changed my color palette in this painting too, so it was a bit of an exploration in that regard.
Yeah, I love that. We've had a lot of comments on that.
I like the painting. And if I'm going to tell you, like, boy, it's pretty hard. Because I'm usually pretty hard on my work, right? Yeah. People always say, you know, look, gosh, you're hard. You're such a perfectionist. And usually my reply is, well, I have to be, because nobody else is, you know. So.
Thank you, Stephen. That was awesome.